Hello there and welcome back to Carren's Couch. What an honour to have you share our very special Mother's Day feature episode. Now, I don't know if you guys know, but I'm not a mum, and as much as I guess I kind of wanted to be a mum at some point, I'm not. I've chosen to pursue a career and a business. So I thought for Mother's Day, I thought it might actually be worthwhile bringing on some really extraordinary mums, one of them who I know personally and have known for a long time, and also to introduce you to another mum who works from home and also has a business of her own representing mums who stay at home. Because I don't know, when I grew up, I grew up in a very old-fashioned home. My mum was at home the whole time that I was at school. So I'd go to primary school and even through high school. I felt really sorry for my mum. And when I think back, oh my God, I think I was the nastiest kid. All my mum wanted to do was go out and get a job and, get a life of her own. But I was the youngest of three, and all three of us kids said absolutely no way. No way you're going back to work. You need to be home to look after us. And she did. My mum stayed home looking after us kids until I was 14 years old. Can you believe that? Honestly, I feel so sorry for her because all she wanted was to have a life of her own, but we kept her trapped at home. So for Mother's Day, in celebration of all mums everywhere, I wanted to bring you a story. I wanted to bring you an understanding and a concept of what mums really go through. And not being one, I actually feel like this is going to be a really fascinating show for me as well to enjoy. So I'm going to introduce you to our guests today. I'm going to take a seat and I'm going to introduce you to our guests. Because who we have here at Carren's Couch is somebody who is very near and very dear to my heart. Now, I've known this particular spunky, gorgeous, delicious creature for a while, and her name's Natasha Zavella. Now, Tash, I've known her for a while. She's been a friend of mine and a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend for a long, long time. Now, Tash has actually got the most beautiful little girl, Jasmine, and she's about to pop on her second one.
Not here, though.
Don't laugh too hard. So I'm super grateful to have Tash on the couch with us today. And I also want to introduce you to Jody Allen. And Jody we have on Skype. So welcome, Jody. Thanks for joining us here on the couch.
Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute treat to have both of you spunky women here. Now, Tash is our representative of all mums who have decided to have their family and have a business as well. Tash has created an amazing business. She puts Lara Bingle and Jennifer Hawkins to shame. Tash has been a television presenter and she's been working at Australia Zoo here in Australia. And those of you guys who are overseas, you'll recognise Australia Zoo as soon as I say Steve Irwin. So Tash has been working at Australia Zoo as a presenter. So it's only natural that that's her purpose, it's her passion, and it's what she loves to do. So when she's gone on to have her kids, and I'm going to let her tell you the story because I'll shut up in a second. But when she's gone on to have her kids, she's wanted to still pursue her passion and her purpose so that she can still feel fulfilled, where she gets to make a difference in her own life, but also in the lives of others. So Tash has gone on to create a business which is just extraordinary, teaching people to shine on camera. And there are just hundreds and thousands of amazing businesswomen out there, or business people really, not just women, but amazing people out there who've got extraordinary businesses who could really benefit from taking their business and their message to an online medium. So that's why we've got Tash with us, because it's tough to juggle all of that,
Absolutely.
And for Jody's story is quite extraordinary. Jody was an amazing woman who was working and employed and got made redundant. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jody, but from what I can gather, you were employed in a job, you'd had your first, you were ready to have your second, and you got made redundant and therefore really had to stay home. Is that right?
I did. I had 2 babies in a year, which put my employer in a bit of a spot. And so it was really hard for me to sort of take 2 years maternity leave in a row. So they made me redundant. At the time, I thought it was the end of the world. I'd always had a good career. And then I was suddenly, I'm at home. But I learned to make the best of it. And I never regretted it for a second. It's been the best thing I've ever done.
So I reckon it must be, there's pros and cons for choosing to stay at home like Jody has, or to build a career and build a business. Because there's also a difference between being employed and starting your own business and having kids. Because when you start your own business, I know myself, there's lots of additional expenses that come out of the woodwork that you just didn't know existed. So I really want to explore with both of these gorgeous creatures, what are the highs and the lows? What are the pros and the cons? And I guess I really want to explore how different life actually has to look and be for people or mums who choose to work and choose to stay at home. So let's start with you, Miss Natasha Zavella. Talk to me about what it's like to be a mum or to have your first baby and really wonder how you're going to support that family, how are you going to support that little life. What goes through your mind when you think about the financial stresses and the financial strains that it goes into looking after a little one? What goes through your mind? What did you experience?
I think with when I had Jasmine, she's 2.5, almost 3 in June, I just released my first book at that stage, just before, or I was just finished writing the first book, and then released that
Exhibit A.
3 months after I had Jasmine. And I really didn't go into the business full time at that stage. It was still a part-time. So I took at least sort of 6 to 12 months of part-time speaking and writing, and I didn't go into it full on because of that fact that, I just became a new mum, didn't know what I was doing or how I was doing it, and I was just learning as I went along. So the business at that stage really kind of took a back seat, but I still had a purpose and direction to fulfill, because the process of writing a book for me was almost like giving birth to a child, because
absolutely,
you're putting your heart and soul into that. So it was a matter of trying to balance still pursuing that career as well as being a new mum, and that was at times really challenging because I was so used to being full on into my career, and then all of a sudden I've got my first child, and I really, definitely struggled with that initially because I didn't have any family around, and it was pretty much me on its own, and also still pursuing my speaking and my book career at that stage. And so it was a real challenge to do both.
That's tough. Yeah. That's tough for you because Natasha doesn't have any family around for a support network at all. So it all falls on your shoulders. But I can imagine, even for myself, if I was to have a baby, I can imagine that it would be quite challenging to go from being full on to getting a complete shift in focus to it being all about building a family and making a family. Did you feel that you ever, well, I suppose I guess it's a challenging question, but did you feel that you were ever torn between the two, or was it just a no-brainer decision? I'm a mum now, and that's my primary choice. Or did you feel like you were torn between the career that you had and the baby you now had?
I think more the first 12 months I was just in survival mode and making sure that I was caring for my child. I think as she's gotten a bit older, and as my Shine on Camera business has grown exponentially, I've found it more difficult as she's got a bit older, as the business has grown.
Yeah.
So, and running events like it's very different to going to a 9-to-5 job. Events is like running, I don't know, think about having a wedding every 3 months.
Yeah.
So when I'm running an event, it's very stressful, and that's when I have times where I go, is it all worth it? Is it worth having a business that I'm passionate about, but you know, the stress that it does put on myself and trying to manage my family, I do question that at times, absolutely. But I know that what I am doing is setting up a great future for my daughter and my little baby that's due in 3 weeks, because I know that I can't get retrenched. It's solely up to me to create the business that I have. No one can take that away from me, and no one can take that away from my children. And for me, that gives me an enormous sense of purpose, direction and fulfillment, because I'm providing for their future and their education. And like Jody's, you know, experience, that you can't get that taken away from you. And, you know, that's when the times are tough, that's what I think about when I'm trying to juggle both my children and the business that I'm creating. Yeah.
And it's what I like about being a stay-at-home mum, though, you take that stress away. When I was made redundant and I'm home, I've got 2 babies. I actually had time to focus on me rather than just work all the time. You know, even though I didn't have the money to do a lot of things, I had the time, and, you know, we could go to the park and I had time to read some books. You know, I've been working since I was 14 years old, like 2 or 3 jobs. I worked damn hard to get where I am, and I suppose the redundancy was a blessing in disguise for me, because I could really just take time out and smell the roses and just really slow down. And I don't think too many modern women these days really get the chance, and that's what sort of stay-at-home mum is all about for me, for the people that want to really take that time out. And, you know, they're only little for such a small amount of time, and I did 5 years IVF with my first baby, so I didn't want to miss a second of it. And to tell the truth, going back to work personally for me, it was just a mountain I couldn't climb. You know, I wanted to be home with them. You know, my heart would break, and I put them in daycare for 1 day a week, and I'd cry the whole time.
Yeah, well, actually, interestingly, sorry, I was going to say our producers had a baby. For Carren's Couch, our producers had a baby, and she, you know, she's a working mum, and she says the same thing when she's got to leave her little one with her grandparents. It just breaks her heart to actually say goodbye and leave him for the day. Jody, I'm curious to ask you though, you know, you say you wanted to spend the time with your kids and take some time to smell the roses, and really, you know, the redundancy was a blessing in disguise. Raising kids though, I don't know, that it almost feels like it's just as much work.
It is bloody hard work. It is the absolute hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life, and everybody told me how hard it was, and even then I had no idea how hard it is. It is, Natasha will tell you, mind-boggling. You know, I'm up with them still at 4 a.m. and, you know, and as they get older, you think, oh, it'll get easier, but it's no, why? You know, how does the internet work? You know, all sorts of just mind-boggling questions. But it's really nice too to be able to see them go through all those phases. My eldest is learning to read at the moment, and that's been a really exciting thing. To tell the truth, babies wasn't like relentless, but now that they're getting older, they're getting more interesting, as in they like to do a lot more of that kind of thing, which I really enjoy doing with them. I like to go up to the school and spend time with the other kids, you know, doing, you know, reading, teaching them maths, you know, and it's really a blessing in disguise that I have that time to be able to go up and do that. That my time's a lot more flexible, and it's really lovely to see them grow, and they love having me there. Like, I get very, very excited. And my mum was a stay-at-home mum too, and then she did the tuck shop and all those sorts of things, and I really have fond memories of it. And I suppose for me, I want my kids to have those kind of memories as well.
Was your mum a stay-at-home mum, Tash?
No, she had to work. She financially, so she basically gave birth, and 3 days later she was working back in her hair salon, and you know, for financially she didn't have a choice. So for her, she would prefer to stay at home, but she really had to go back to work because we needed the money.
And I suppose these
we were living in the back of the salon when I was born.
You were living in the back of the salon?
Hair salon, yeah.
It's a real reality these days, as you were about to say there, Jody. It's a real reality for a lot of mums and families in the global economic climate that we're in right now, where a lot of mums actually have to work. And my heart really goes out to those sorts of situations, because it's not a case of choice, you know, it's about having to. So when you've got your own business, I guess there's a certain amount of flexibility that affords you. But when you're employed by somebody 9 to 5, there's a lot of challenges that come with that. You know, daycare and getting support. How do you get support when you are working?
Well, for me, I've had my business has been predominantly at home, so that's been great. It's only when I've been running events that it's out or you know, at venues. So I do get to spend the reading time and drop Jazzy off at kindy, and I've chosen to employ a nanny in my home, so I get to at least work from home and then spend, you know, lunch with her, or every couple of hours give her a cuddle. So for me, I decided to invest in having a nanny at home while I was working at home, so I didn't get to miss out.
What a luxury.
So I didn't put her in daycare, not only till 2.5 years. She's only just started kindy, junior kindy now, because I didn't want to miss out. So sure, I could have, you know, I spent more money, but I still got to see her every 2-3 hours or whenever I wanted to, which is a luxury. But that's why I, you know, that was a decision that I didn't want to miss out on those moments, and I wanted to be there. So, but it is, you know, obviously there's a cost involved for that, but you know, fortunately for my business, I can run that from home predominantly. So I don't miss out on those moments, you know, when she's walking or she's you know, doing stuff like that. So.
And those are the challenges, I think, for mums who are in employed work, is that it's a case of a trade-off. You know, you have to.
It's not worth it.
You have to make the money to pay the bills. But I've often wondered about that. You know, like, with the wage structure that we have, and then the daycare expenses, you know, when little ones have got to go to daycare, it kind of doesn't one weigh out the other? The cost of putting a little one into daycare?
I did, when I was driven crazy a few years into being a stay-at-home mum. I thought, I'll do some part-time work just for a little bit. And for 3 months, I got a job, and I only worked, you know, 3.5 days, and I was $10 a fortnight better off. So I gave it up. I couldn't. $10. It was just so expensive. So, and to hear my babies cry, and I did drop them off at daycare or my mum's house, I'm like, not for $10.
Not for $10.
That's not worth it.
No. So let me ask you, Jody, because you have a website called Stay at Home Mums, and it's the #1 mums Facebook page, isn't it? Is that right?
That's right. You've got nearly 320,000 followers. So no, it does really well, and Stay at Home Mum's really just about getting back to basics and learning how to live frugally. So when I was a stay-at-home mum, because we were only on the wage, I only literally had $50 a week to spend on groceries, and that's how I learnt to live. And I said at first it was really hard. I couldn't afford my chocolate bars and my Tim Tams and all that sort of thing. So I know it was just terrible. But you know, when I embraced it and really got into the kitchen and started cooking, getting the kids involved, I actually really enjoyed being like living like that, and I saved a lot of money, and it was actually a really nice way of life. So Stay at Home Mum was really just about, you know, if you really want to stay home with your kids and you want that lifestyle, there's a few things that you can give up that will make your life better, and you'll be able to still have that luxury.
Jody,
because I do understand that, you know, a lot of mums do have to work.
Tell us about some of those tips, because if a mum knows that she's got $50 left over on one salary, if she decides that she wants to stop working, and she's only going to rely on her husband or partner's income, and there's only $50 a week for groceries, like that doesn't leave any money for hair, nails, shoes, you know what I'm saying?
No.
So how on earth does somebody come out on $50 a week? What are some of the things that you did so that you can give some of the mums that are watching this show hope that there's another way to do it?
So much you can do. And I said I was really shocked, because I used to be a $200 or $300 a week just for hubby, and I shopper. You know, I will fully admit it. But, you know, I had a goal. I put my goals up, you know, on my whiteboard and worked towards them. I only bought basics. I went back to living like how my grandmother used to live. You know, my mum had chooks. I used to get eggs and lemons off her. I'd just buy, you know, the basic flour, sugar. I'd make everything from scratch. I do freezer cooking, is where you make big batches of food and then freeze it so that you're not, you know, cooking every night of the week and you're buying in bulk. I went through all my insurances and rung around and got the best deals. Like there's so many ways to save money, and I was really shocked at actually how much I was spending until I really had the time, because I was a stay-at-home mum, to go through all those kinds of things, and I saved a fortune. So it's been really good for me, and I can sleep well at night knowing I'm debt-free, and you know, I've got a really nice lifestyle, and I still live really frugally now. But I do bake, yes.
I'll bet you do. That's really good training. You need to come over to my house and teach me how to budget. I don't have kids, and I'm not even like, you know, I spend every cent that I make. But I think that's really awesome, because you really got back to basics, and that would have been some amazing lessons even just for your kids to grow up and watch you do that for themselves, so that they then learn the value of money above everything else. They learn the value of money and the importance of...
They do. They ask me everything, like, how much does that cost? And I'm like, is that free? They always ask me, is that free? And I keep having to tell them, nothing in life is free. You know, if you really want something, you have to work towards it. I said, even if you want to live frugally, you have to work towards it, because even though I'm only spending a little amount of money, the work involved is huge. But, you know, that's the payoff for me. And
teaching them great values.
You know, it's really worked well. What was that, sorry?
You're teaching them the value of money, which is
that's
fantastic.
right, that's right.
Yeah.
Shop on eBay.
Yeah.
eBay, $5.
Or Gumtree's even better. I've got some good things from Gumtree.
So this is a plug now for the online purchasing site.
You don't have to being frugal doesn't mean being tight either. There's definitely a difference. So I want to teach them that as well. You know, save money where you can, but spend it on the important things.
So I want to ask both of you girls a question, and it's a little loaded. There's been, you know, over the years I've done thousands and thousands and thousands, I've probably lost count of interviews. And probably, I don't know, at least 70% of those interviews have been mums. Some of them are working and some of them are not working. The question that I want to ask you guys is, what sort of stigma or what sort of opinions do you get from other people out there that perhaps may pass judgment on a mum that stays at home and doesn't contribute financially versus a mum who goes to work and who's therefore considered not to really be there for her kids? I can imagine that there would be a lot of judgment out in society either way.
You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Yeah, I can imagine
Absolutely.
that would be the truth. So, Jody, start us off. Tell us, like, what sort of judgment is out there, and how does a mum...
Don't you contribute to your family? Oh, you're just a stay-at-home mum. You're just a mum. Like my job isn't important, and that I'm not contributing. You know, I'm of no value. And you know that really hurts, because you know it is a life choice that I've made. You know, I for the ladies that want to go on and further their career, that's great. You know, I'm not anti that at all. I'm all for you do what you want to do, and women should embrace it. But society is really, really hard. I find it, especially the little old ladies when you go shopping. Like, I live in a little old town, and I find they're the worst. If you're in a uniform, they're tut. But if you go out, you're a stay-at-home mum and you've got to vomit on your shirt, as what happens there, you know. So it really makes you.
I still have vomit when I go to work, so it's all good.
Oh, must we?
Wear white. Vomit doesn't show up when you wear white, and that's something most mums learn really early.
But I hear what you're saying, Jody. You know, being and working, you know, there's you know, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And I think, you know, it comes down to, you know, whatever fulfills you and your highest values at that time is right for you, and whether that's to stay at home and be a full-time mother, you know, which is one of the toughest jobs out there, versus running a business and being a mum as well. This, you know, neither way is good for anyone. It's what's right for you, and if that fulfills you, then so be it.
So be it.
And
a lot of women are our own worst enemies, unfortunately. So we should just stick together and support each other's decisions.
Fantastic.
I do find that, actually. I do find that. And I guess I've come to terms with the fact that society, we judge. You know, we do. Yeah. We're human and we judge. And we're always judging people one way or the other. So I don't think a person can ever get it right as far as society is concerned. So what you're actually left with then is getting it right for yourself. And I really love that.
Yeah, you live by your highest value. And if that's to be there for your kids, that's your highest value, 100%. If it's to run a business and be a mother, and that's your highest value, and that fulfills you, go for it.
That's right. I know it sounds corny, but do what makes your heart sing.
Yeah.
You know, and I said I've never looked back, and I so enjoy the time that I've taken now. I've been off, for quite a few years now, and even though I still have a business, I run from home, I still have that time, and it really means a lot to me. And in the future it might change, and I might have a full-time career, but at the moment I'm really happy to have the balance, and I can still do school pickup. I'm there for them, and they drive me crazy, but I love them.
How old are your kids, Jody?
5 and 6.
5 and 6.
2 boys. So
two boys.
A very noisy house, a very dirty house, because they touch walls and miss the bowl, miss the toilet bowl. I don't know with the boys.
Actually, there was a great quote I have to share with you. A lady in the US that said, when you're running a business and a family, balance is for ballerinas, and it actually is. It's and it's.
I reckon
tough,
that would be true.
And being a mum, to balance and juggle is a tough gig. Either way,
no time off.
No.
That that blows my mind what you just said there, Jody, and with the whole balance thing. I don't know how you guys do it. I really don't. I don't know how you manage to run a successful business, run a successful home, still look after yourselves, because you both look absolutely stunning, can I just say?
Good skincare products.
Good skincare products. But it's got to be a huge big juggling act. And one of the things that I guess I've found with the people that I've interviewed over the years as well, and this is just, a question to bring us to the end of the show, I really want to talk to you guys about how a mum manages to keep her confidence up, how she manages to keep herself beautiful, because when you're at home and you're being thrown up on, I can't even imagine what that would be like.
Wine keeps me, of an afternoon. Keeps me sane.
Do you know a girlfriend of mine, I'll never forget this, a girlfriend of mine years ago, she had a baby, and the baby was like one of those babies that just screams. From the moment she was born to about 7 months old, she just screamed. And she found herself filling a coffee cup with wine so that nobody knew there was wine in there.
Whatever you got to do.
Whatever works.
No judgment.
But I reckon...
And setting time out for yourself too. I must admit I'm very prone to sitting on the bottom of the shower with a shower cap on over my ears, just under the water, because it's the only time you just can get quiet. And even though there's little people knocking on the shower screen, you can just block it out for 5 minutes. And I find if I have that, coffee in the morning, or wine at night, I'm fine. And you just get up and do it again.
I can't live without a coffee, that's it.
That's
I've been
hilarious.
up since 3:30 this morning, and that coffee at 6 a.m. was just the lifesaver. Yeah.
So I thought there was this great secret that you mothers had that allowed you to juggle all the balls and still look so gorgeous and manage to do everything.
No way.
Like even just be on Carren's couch. But the secret's coffee?
Coffee and good skincare and makeup.
Great.
So I've got some great products.
So let me see if I've got this. Yeah. It's coffee, good skincare, good makeup and hair care.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's it. You girls crack me up.
A good husband helps too. I'm lucky I've got one that did all the night time. So I'm very, very lucky there. But if I didn't have him, I don't know what I'd do, just quietly. So I put my pillow on my head, get the babies.
Unfortunately, my husband has to get up and drive to Brisbane, so I do the nights as well. So
you do the mornings and the nights?
Yeah. So
wow.
You've got a tough job.
Yeah.
So you are really going to have your work cut out for you when you have baby number 2. Because Jasmine's 2 years old?
She's just over 2.5, so she'll be 3 in June. But yeah, it's doing the nights and then getting up and then working, and then that's some days I just, I think of Jody and I just go, how do I survive the day? And
I tell you, I would be feral. If I didn't get my sleep, I'd be foul.
And then jump on camera and present a job.
Stop it.
It's the 3 years of drama school that I went to. I'm a good actor.
Yeah, suck it up, sunshine.
Yeah. You just have to take it one day at a time. And I have bad days. I've had lots of bad days with the kids where you just don't even want to get up in the morning. You just want to, it's just like, go away. But you just have to take it every day as it comes and know that you're going to have good days and know that you're going to have shit days.
Yeah. I suppose that's true. It's like anything though, isn't it? I mean, that's really kind of like life too. Some days are going to be really awesome, and sometimes everything's just going to turn to absolute crap, and you can't do a thing about it. So you just got to roll with the punches. Welcome to the human race.
I know that they'll leave home one day.
Did you say that out loud? You did. Well, girls, thank you so much for joining us. I feel like we could keep talking about this. So I feel like we've only just got
a couple of hours.
Yeah, we've only just got started. So girls, thank you for joining us. I want to thank you, Jody. Thank you so much for joining us on Carren's Couch.
Thank you.
Now, if anybody who's watching, or those of you guys who are listening to the podcast and you want to find out more about Jody, where can we find out more about you?
Yeah. Pop over to my website, www.stayathomemum.com.au.
Awesome. So stay at home mum or mum.
Mum.
M-O-M?
M-U-M.
M-U-M.com.au. So stay at home mum.com.au, and we can also find you on Facebook under Stay at Home Mum.
Yep, sure can.
Awesome. And Tash, what about you? How can we find out more about you other than your fabulous book? And she's just released a second one, or she's about to release her second one. So if our guests want to find out more about where they can reach you.
My website is natashazuvela.com, so NATASHAZUV for Victor, ELA.com. And they can find out all about how to shine on camera and how to present and get their message and products out there to the world by using powerful video.
Fantastic. Well, thank you girls for joining us. For those of you guys who want to make more contact with Carren's Couch, you can find us at allthews.carrenscouch.com, or you can also find us on Facebook, which is allthews.facebook.com/Carren's Couch. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been an absolute treat to have both of you girls on the show. Join us here for next week, where we dive deep into topics that are controversial and exciting, and we answer all of your questions. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.